Hey everybody, welcome to Answer Me Charlie. I think this is our third edition. Real quick, before we get into the video, I want to remind everybody, there's a red subscribe button. I believe it's sort of there, roughly on your screen. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get updates every time I post something new. I got a lot of exciting things in the works in the weeks and months to come, and I don't want y'all to miss it. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. I'm going to get right to the questions, all right? This one's from Stephen Wiggin. Stephen writes, loved getting to hear your talents on the recent Eric Church songs. He's referring to Stick That in Your Country song. I also played a little banjo on a song Eric released called Crazy Land, and there's a new one called Hell of a View. And I think I played on it, but we'll get into the answer but the crazy thing about sessions sometimes is you can't remember what you played on a song. Anyway, back to Stephen's question. Answer me, Charlie, how do you prepare leading up to these sessions? Do you get an opportunity to arrange some ideas in advance? Gosh, that's actually a case-by-case basis. Sometimes there is pre-production. For example, a couple weeks ago, I went in and recorded 6 songs for my next record, and we spent 2 days in a rehearsal studio with Jay Joyce, the producer, and the band, kind of hashing out arrangements and stuff, and it gave us a chance to get the songs under our fingers so that we weren't thinking about arrangements when we were recording. We were thinking strictly about performance. But in the case of the Eric Church sessions, my gosh, Eric was writing those songs in the morning and then we were recording them at night, so nobody had any time to think about it. And I think the way you prepare for a session like that, honestly, is just make sure you're playing a lot of music every day before you go into the studio. And I think that's a lesson I'm learning right now in quarantine especially, because usually if you're playing gigs all the time, you're warmed up, your blade is sharp, so to speak, as a player, but you never want to go cold into a session where your fingers feel stiff and stuff. So as long as your curiosity is firing on all cylinders and you're playing a lot, that's about the best preparation you can have for a recording session. It's also just important to be listening. In some ways you can't prepare for sessions. You have to prepare for them for decades, so to speak. It's all the things you've learned over the years, and it's remembering that it's all about perspective. It's all about listening and playing with other people, supporting the singer, supporting the song. The playing on a record 9 times out of 10 is the frame, not the picture. The picture is the person whose picture is literally on the cover, and their voice, and if they play, they're playing. But yeah, it was a crazy experience being on those sessions. I was around some really incredible musicians. Of course, Eric's band, my buddy Billy Justineau. We play gigs together a bunch. He's now in Eric's band. Yeah, they brought some other amazing players up there too. I wasn't around at the same time as those other guys, but guys like Rob McNelly and Brian Sutton were up there playing, and so it was a special experience, and it was great to work with Jay too. I hope that answers your question, Stephen. Let's see here. Ronnie Lavey asked, hi Charlie, missing you here in the UK. I'm missing all my friends in the UK as well, and Australia, all over, everywhere I've ever had a chance to travel. Speaking of that, Ronnie asks, what country in the world that you haven't been to yet would you most like to visit? I'm going to have to go with a list here. I'm going to just list 5 because I really kind of, travel is my other addiction besides music, and I've never been to Asia. And so I would love to go to Japan. I'd love to go to China and see the history there and eat the amazing food. I'd also love to go to India. Never been to India. I'd love to see the Holy Lands. I'd love to see Africa and South America. I don't know how many that was. It certainly wasn't one, but I would take any on that list. I just believe in travel so much. I believe that there's a great quote. I can't remember who said it. I think Charles Dickens maybe, but travel was fatal to ignorance. And I believe that's true. All right, let's see here. This one's from Bella Rose, 2005. This is Claire from Down Under. How was that, Claire? That's as far as I can go trying to cop an accent. All right, Claire writes, you got to perform alongside Keith Urban last year at the ACM Awards. Explain your emotions from the moment you were asked to the actual performance and then seeing him win Entertainer of the Year. Did you also find he spoke with an American twang or an Aussie twang? I think Keith has his own twang. It's a hybrid Aussie country music twang, and He certainly sings, I think, with a different accent than he does his speaking voice a little bit. And I think that's partly because we sound like the records we learned to play and sing to. And Keith is obviously, as well as a master, a student of country music. The emotions around that gig were wild. I remember seeing Keith Urban when his first solo record had just come out, and he was just starting to have his first hit or two, but nobody really knew who he was yet. And my dad and I were at a festival together. I think I was playing like the bluegrass stage of this festival in Jackson, Mississippi, and we stumbled by accident across the general vicinity where Keith was playing. We didn't know who it was. We just heard this amazing guitar playing and really rocking band. We round the corner and there's maybe 30 people watching Keith play, and he's just on fire. And it's him and maybe two other, I mean, he had 2 or 3 band members, if that. And so it was a lean, mean country music machine. And I've just been a massive student and fan of Keith Urban ever since. And so getting that call was a little surreal, and it was a thrill. I am grateful to Dave Cobb, who produced the song that Keith recorded that we performed on the ACMs that year, a Foy Vance song called Burden. I think Dave's the one who put my name in the hat. And, you know, the moments that stand out were being in the rehearsal studio before everyone left for Vegas. We're all there getting set up. Keith walks in. He's just another one of the guys. So humble and down to earth. And I remember asking him about a harmony part. I was like, do you want me to sing this harmony part? And he was so gracious. He said, Charlie, you live in this world, man. You do this all the time. I trust you. And I just thought that was so cool of him to trust the musicians backing him up. And then the next sort of freeze frame in my memory from that experience, I think, was doing the rehearsal on the stage, you know, before the audience is there and everything, and they're getting the blocking for the cameras and all the lights are getting figured out. And Keith was kind enough to let me play through some of his equipment in addition to the Morgan amps that my friend Joe Morgan makes that I love to play through. And so just all of it was this sense of gratitude, this sense of full circle. And it was a little emotional in the performance because, I mean, it's high pressure, right? Like in one part of my brain, I'm thinking, okay, don't mess up. You gotta nail every part and all that. But in the other part of my brain, I'm going, my goodness, man, this is one of my heroes, and he's trusted me to back him up. And it was a great band as well. The guys backing Keith up are all dudes I love to play music with, and so it just felt surreal. I hope that answers the question. It's hard to put stuff like that into words. And him winning Entertainer of the Year, let me just say, I mean, I think he could have won Entertainer of the Year when he was playing for those 30 people in Jackson. He's one of the greatest entertainers we have in country music. And anybody that walks on a stage for a living has something they can learn from Keith Urban. So, yeah. All right, let's see here. Jay Ward asks, if you don't mind me asking, how low is your typical acoustic action setup at the 1st and 12th fret, and what gauge and type of string do you usually use on dreadnoughts for fingerpicking? Jay Ward, I hate to disappoint you, but I am the worst at knowing those kind of details with instruments and guitars, and I wish I knew more about guitar setup. All I can say is I trust there's some really incredible folks here in Nashville who will set up guitars and repair guitars. The guys that work at George Gruen's at Gruen Guitars do incredible work, and there's also just no shortage of places you can go to get your instrument set up. I can speak to what strings I love to use, and I'm a massive D'Addario fan. I use D'Addario on everything: banjo, mandolin, electric, acoustic, you name it. This is the range. And maybe this answers the question of action. So for some guitars, I like a bit of a lower action, more playability. You've maybe seen me on stage over the years playing an acoustic that also runs through an amp. And I like this 80-20 bronze, the light gauge, if I'm playing a guitar that way. Usually a small bodied Martin like this that's got a second pickup in it that runs through the amp, because I can bend the strings more easily on that. But when I'm playing instruments more like a dreadnought and I'm more in the bluegrass style, or I'm playing in the studio, I use one of these two sets. The 80-20 bronze is just this really cool type of string that Diodario makes. I love the way they sound, I love the way they feel. And the bluegrass, it's a light top and a medium bottom. It's good for living between that playing acoustic like an electric world and flat picking world. And then for the straight up like my D28, my J50, I've usually got these mediums on. But hands down, it's Diodario all the way. And I love all the different acoustic strings they make. I use the different strings they make on different instruments, but the 80-20 bronze, that's my go-to. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Man, I got to get some lessons on guitar setup one of these days. Let's see here. What else do we have? Alan Rogers. This is a long shot, but in 2019, you played a solo set before Old Crow at the North Carolina Art Museum. I was pretty drunk, but I've been curious about a song you played ever since. The only lyrics I can remember are I Just Might Be an Outlaw or something similar. Does a recording of that song exist anywhere? Alan, a recording of that song does not yet exist. There's a little homemade demo I've got that I turned into my publisher, but there's no public released version of it. But I love that song, and I wrote that song with, why am I spacing? Bobby Pinson. Bobby Pinson and I've been fortunate to write a few songs with him. I'm a massive fan of him as a songwriter. He wrote Burning Man with Luke Dick for Dierks Bentley, and Bobby and I wrote that song, and I love that it kind of quotes all the Outlaws. It's like Waylon would drink me under the table if we got drunk tonight, and Johnny Cash would kick my ass if we got in a fight. You know, I couldn't go toe for toe with Willie's on the road against smoke, but something tells me and them, we're the same. I can't remember what I used in my lyric for that rhyme. But yeah, I hope to record that song someday. Who knows? I keep trying to twist Brent Cobb's arm and make a Hot Possum record, and I think that'd make a real good Hot Possum song. So stay tuned there. But that is Just Might Be an Outlaw or Outlaw. I forget what we called it. Y'all, I'm so misinformed about my own stuff. Let's wrap things up, y'all, with a question from Barry Bonds. Charlie, I posted on the first Answer Me Charlie, but must have gotten it in too late. Speaking of posting, please post your questions below after you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll comb through the comments in this, and when we do the next Answer Me Charlie, I'll be sure to try and answer every question I can. But this is Barry's request. Number 1, would you teach me the intro to Hang On to That? And number 2, would you teach me the opening lick to Love You to the Moon? Thanks for your kindness and knowledge. Vince Gill was spot on when he said you were a star in the making. God bless and please stay safe. Oh, thank you, man. I owe Vince everything. So let me show you the Hang On to That situation. I play it. I play Hang On to That out of a B, open B. So that's like a B bar chord. I'm leaving my E strings and my B string open. If I just strummed it all open at once. And my right hand, what my right hand is doing is kind of copying a thing I learned playing banjo. It's a sort of a banjo roll type thing. So it's A string, G string, D string, B string, and then that's G string, D string, B string again. So. And once I get it going, I'm using my middle finger to pluck that open B string. So just get that going at first, right? Everything, this is your home base. Everything starts here. And then on my left hand, I'm playing a melody. It starts on the A string 2nd fret. It's going to go A string 4th fret, A string 6th fret, I believe. 3 and 4 and... So what I'm doing there, I flip up there with my ring finger, and then I come back with my middle finger and catch the 6th chord root note. That's the 4th fret of the E string. And now, to get that dissonance, I got my 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the G string and my 4th finger on the 4th fret of the D string, still rolling with that open B string like a banjo would. So. And then release the middle finger for the open E string, and then flip over. And now you're back. So to get that, at the same time you hit your open E string with your pick, use your middle finger to pluck the hammer on from the 3rd to 4th fret on the G string, and then pull off from the 2nd fret to the open B string. So that's the intro to Hang On To That. And we just recorded that with Jay Joyce, and he made me do some really wild and fun stuff. I haven't quite learned it all yet, but I'll try to play you the thing from the turnaround that we did. Let me do that again. Pretty cool, right? And then there's another one in the chorus that goes, hang on to that. Anyway, that's Hang On To That. And then real quick, a song of mine called Love You To The Moon. It's a philosophy of playing that I stole from Paul Simon, and he stole it from these South African pop bands when he made the record Graceland. So it's all based out of the bar chord E-shaped C up here on the old, 8th fret. And I'm just arpeggiating the major 1, 4, and 5 chords. So that's the first one, right? And then this is from the F A-shaped bar chord at the 8th fret, right? And by the time you're kind of coming back down on that, the bass is going from to the 5 chord. So and you can embellish it at the end. That kind of thing. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Thanks everybody for posting Answer Me Charlie questions. Don't forget to subscribe and post a comment below with any question you want about anything. Cooking, travel, music, life, you name it. I love getting to interact with y'all on here. All right, peace everybody.